Everybody shut up and action. The A-Team is an absolute blast of an action comedy. This is an absolute banger of an entertaining movie to watch. I enjoyed it thoroughly. This is the story about a group of soldiers, ex-soldiers, like people who were a part of the same corps at one point in time or another, and you know the loyalty they have to that corps. If one member of that corps, whether they were there during your time or another time, you know they got your back under any circumstance. You support them, you cover them. So it's about the story about how four people who were once a part of this squadron come back together and just go out on missions to complete missions for their country, do things for their countries. They're like a special task force that people consider the best. Yeah, at the same time they criticize them for their more independent sort of actions, not really working with their entire team. Just those four working alone on their own together. And it's a really entertaining show, a movie about how these guys go on all these missions together and now they're suddenly being imprisoned for going against orders and practically costing the military men their lives, because the four of them decide to go against orders and take on a situation by themselves, and they were wrongfully imprisoned. Like, that's what the story is about. Them breaking out of prison to try and prove their innocence while solving everything at the same time, putting the people who were responsible behind bars appropriately. So yeah, this is a really entertaining action comedy movie. We're going to get into spoilers, so that's just a heads up. Alright, so this movie is an absolute blast. You have these people, like, one thing I really love is loyalty, and the entire aspect right from the beginning. You have two guys working a mission, and then there's this guy, he doesn't want to rob a car, but he's trying to rob a car, and then he realizes, oh, he was once upon a time in the same squadron as me. I'm a more senior member of the squadron, but you know, he's willing to help me. I just shot him, but suddenly I shot him to try and take the car from him, but you know, everything's negated. He's going to drive for me. Everything's back to normal. He's going to help me out because why? We're a part of the same squadron. Loyalty to the squadron. Even, I don't even know if it's a squadron. I'm just saying squadron because, like, that's how I'm describing it. They were once a part of the same task force or something or the other. And, you know, he feels loyalty to that task force and the previous members, the current members, and the future members of that task force because it's just the special forces in general and the loyalty to them. One person is in trouble, I got your back. Under any circumstances, they were never together, but after this mission, they are together, and now the people they've met that have been a part of this task force, the four members, they are going on various missions throughout this entire time to actually help the country and benefit everyone. And then seeing these guys get wrongfully imprisoned, firstly, the entire build-up to that, it was a nice build-up, kind of long, but also really entertaining story build-up to try and just get into the big part of the story. It takes a good chunk of time, like the first 20 minutes or so is actively building up the relationship between these four beautifully, that hooks you into their entire relationship and sets up their fears that they've created amongst one another. Like, one guy was just so reckless in driving the plane that he developed this insane fear of flying that constantly persists throughout the rest of the movie, that every time they have to fly, they have to, like, knock this guy out because he genuinely is scared of flying now because of how scary a pilot one of their teammates was because he nearly went flying out of the plane. So it makes sense that he's developed this fear because they are human. They're not superhuman. They may be soldiers, but they are still human. And you know, it's this entire comedy about the relationship between these guys. They get wrongfully imprisoned, and now, you know, the leader of the pack breaks out of prison, breaks his fellow mates out of prison. They all just randomly know from, like, tiny hints and details that, oh, someone's coming. And, like, even with the psychotic guy who feels like he's a little mentally crazy, he can tell these signs and he's like, yep, they're coming for me. I'm going to be breaking out of prison within the next few minutes. Yippee! And the way they're able to act, their way to not throw anyone on their scent is absolutely crazy. Honestly, I really fell in love with the movie, especially with the characters and their entire relationship. That is always beautiful to me. And then seeing these guys go on this entire journey to try and clear their names while at the same time exposing the real threats and making sure they get put behind bars while trying to convince the military that's after them for breaking out that they were innocent, and then making sure everything goes back properly. It is an absolute beauty of a movie to watch that keeps you on the edge of your seat through to the end. You're constantly, like, thinking, oh my god, how are they actually going to expose these criminals? The criminals know they're alive. They're playing with their own lives, and at times they've nearly lost their lives, and this movie keeps you on the edge of your seat thinking, oh my god, what's going to happen next? And there's a lot of fun action sequences to watch, but this movie really hits hard with the comedy because the individual quirkiness of each character all combining into their relationships is an absolute beauty that creates this entire dynamic that really makes this movie even more enjoyable to watch. I think this movie would have been a lot more stale if it wasn't largely because of the relationship and dynamic between these characters. That is what really carries this movie through and through. Yes, like the plot itself does get stale many times throughout this entire movie, even though it has you at the edge of your seat. But the reason it has you at the edge of your seat is because of the characters and their dynamic and how that intertwines with the story and the plot. That is absolutely beautifully done in this movie, and it really has you hooked and engaged, and it makes it a really, really fun movie to watch. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a great watch. Definitely one I watched on a evening, just eating food with my family, and we all had a blast watching it. I really enjoyed this. That is the A-Team. Peace.